Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Ventura County Homebuyers Masterclass tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll get started in just a minute. Let's get started. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. Okay. Tonight we're going to be talking about avoid these costly mistakes when buying a home. Whether this is your first time or very first time or first time in several years, I know things can change and feel like you forgot everything that you've done in the past. Okay, I want this to be an interactive class. You can have your cameras on or off. It's totally up to you. There's no pressure. There is a chat box. Find the chat box. If you don't know where it is, um, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and chat. Say hi in the chat box. Raise your hand if you have any questions. If you have any questions, just in case I missed your hand raise, you can drop that question in the chat box. I do have my assistant, Annalisa, with us tonight, and she'll be monitoring. Hi, Annalisa. We will have Annalisa monitoring the chat box for us, and so I will try to address your questions as we go, but we will be doing a Q&A at the end of the seminar or the end of the webinar. So hopefully I'll address all your questions as we go, but again, we'll have some time at the end to go over anything that I might have missed or any additional questions you have. Okay. If you don't know who I am, my name is Dolores Park, if we haven't had a chance to meet, and this is my big why on why I do what I do. I have a large family. We have a blended family with 5 kids. It's been quite an adventure raising everybody. I was born and raised in Philadelphia. I am a Philly girl. If you can see, I'm in front of the Liberty Bell in one of the pictures. Born and raised in Philly, came out here in the early 90s for National Student Exchange. I went to Cal State Northridge and got my degree there. My background is actually, my past career was in biotech, and I actually left the biotech world in 2015 and I jumped into real estate full time. I knew I wanted to help people, and that was based on me having an okay experience buying my first house after my divorce. Um, Big reason I give back to my community. One of my big things is I am one of the board members of Hope the Mission. If you're not familiar with them, it is a nonprofit. Mission, and they help housing all over LA County and Ventura County, and they are expanding. And I just want everybody deserves a home, and I like to give back to them. So I know there's a lot of noise out in the media, out in the news. Everybody's talking. You might have mentioned to somebody that you were thinking about buying a house. So I want to ask, how are you feeling about that? Are you stressed out, a little anxious, a little uncertain? Drop in the chat box how you're feeling. Oh, nervous, stressed, and unsure. Well, I'm hoping to help with that tonight. Calm your nerves a little bit. Let me tell you something. Everybody will have an opinion for you. If you've told them that you're thinking about buying a house, you're going to hear all kinds of stuff. Just like when you tell somebody you're getting married or having kids, it's a good time, it's not a good time. There's never a perfect time. The perfect time is for you when you're ready. Okay. My goal tonight really is to educate you on the buying process, guide you through, answer as many questions I can. I won't be able to answer everything tonight, but I really want to consult with you and keep you informed. I want you to feel in control of the buying process and as at ease as possible when you're going through this, whether it's with me or another agent. I want to give you some education up front because I think the biggest fear people have is the unknown. We don't really know what's going to happen. So that is my goal tonight, is to give you some insight into what will happen during the buying process and get you prepared. Even if it's not right now, it's just some information. It's always better to be informed. Okay. Don't be alarmed. I know it might look a lot, but this is an overview of the home buying roadmap. I'll go through the 8 steps pretty quickly. We can dive into it deeper on some other trainings that we do or some conversations. I will touch on some of this tonight, but I want to give you an idea of what really happens when you're buying a home. First, ideally, is you're going to meet with a realtor. You're here tonight, so that's the first step. And really, this is just some information, but later on, we would have a one-on-one conversation, and we are going to talk about what your goals are, what your ideal wants are, needs are, that kind of thing, because every home buying journey is different based on the individual. It's all about the same, but your unique needs and stuff I will address individually. Once we meet, we talk a little bit. I will suggest first thing you do is get pre-approved with a lender. You're going to meet with a lender, and what you're going to do is you're going to share all of your financial information, how much you earn, what your debt is, any savings, any of your financials that you have, and they're going to give you a pre-approval, and that's going to be based on all the information you share, credit score, your debt to income ratio, what you're earning, if you're doing this, if you're going to buy by yourself, or if there's a spouse or a partner involved, anything like that. Once you have that pre-approval, then we're going to go out and search for homes. And we're really going to base it on what your pre-approval is and what your wants and needs are, your location, all that fun stuff. We will go to the home showings together. I will be with you. Some of you may want to go out and do open houses by yourself. That's fine. I'm never going to pressure you that I have to be there, but ideally, I would like to be at those home showings with you. If you're not going to an open house, you will need me. But the open houses are a chance for you to see homes without me. But I would prefer to see all the homes, especially if you find anything that you want to put an offer on. Okay. So we're attending all the home showings, we're going together, we're excited. And then you tell me you fell in love and you're ready to pick a house and you want to submit an offer. I'll prepare that offer for you. We'll talk about everything that we need in a little more detail, and I will guide you on what I think would be a good offer. Ultimately, you will make the decision. We're going to write the offer. We may have to go back and forth a little bit with some counter offers. Again, we'll get into the details of that. Once the seller says, hey, I'm accepting your offer, we've come to an agreement on price, terms, and everything that we've decided. That's when really your offer is accepted, and then we open escrow. Escrow is the actual buying process. Once we have the acceptance, we're going to go through and we're going to do all of your inspections. We're going to get a final loan approval. If you're using a loan, you're going to have to get an appraisal, most likely. Most lenders require that. We're going to review seller disclosures. That's information the seller is going to share with you about the home. And we're going to do all of our due diligence during that period. Once we have all that finalized, if we have to do any negotiations or going through everything, once everything is finalized and we're ready to go and we're saying, okay, it's time. Escrow usually takes 30 days, typically 21 to 30 days, depending on type of loan and what you've agreed to in your offer. Once we're at the final end, we're at the closing time. We're going to have you transfer the rest of your funds, the rest of your down payment, and any closing costs that you'll need. And then once we have all funds into escrow, we're going to call it, and the county records the deed in your name. That is called close of escrow, and that is when you will get the keys. Again, it's about 21 to 30 days going through that whole buying process. Looking at homes, getting the pre-approval, that could take a little bit longer. So we might be in for a little bit of time really finding the home, but that's okay. I'm here for the long haul. It's not about rushing you. It's about finding the right home. Okay. Some things I want you to remember as we're going through your pre-approval and we're looking at homes. There's a difference between wants versus needs. And I like to think of it as 4 buckets. And the 4 buckets I like to discuss with you are, the first one is typically your budget. That is based on your pre-approval. The lender is going to say, hey, you've been pre-approved for $1 million, let's say, or $500,000, whatever it is. Second bucket is location. That'll be, do you want to live in Camarillo, Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, Westlake? You tell me the location. The house. What do I mean by house is, do you need 3-bedroom, 2-bath? You need a large kitchen? Do you need a large backyard? Do you need a yard for the dog? That kind of thing. And then also the timing. Timing doesn't always come into play too much for me. There was an instance where I had a client come to me and said, hey, I already gave my notice on our apartment. We were in escrow to purchase another home with another agent. That fell through. We're in dire straits and I need to move within 3 weeks. So timing was a critical one on that piece. So we were pretty aggressive with all the offers out looking at houses almost every night. We actually got them a house, they closed escrow, and they only had to stay in a hotel for 2 nights. So I was really excited about that because we were able to make the timing happen. But that's really the 4 buckets. I want us to get as much as possible in each of these buckets for you, the main ones, your budget, location, house. But a lot of times, what's going to happen is you will have to compromise on something. And what I typically see is most people will compromise on the house to be in the right location. And I will tell you one thing, I can't change the location, but if you find a house, I can help you with painting, carpet. We can come out with all kinds of stuff. You can always change things in the house and update it to your liking, but I can't change that location. So 9 times out of 10, my clients will choose the better location that works for them, and whatever that is, closer to their work or closer to the kids' school. So unless we have an unlimited budget, we may have to compromise a little bit. Okay. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you have to buy a house, although I really believe that there are a ton of financial benefits to home ownership. And I really believe in this. And I think everybody can have a home. It's just all about timing and preparing for it. Some of those benefits are home ownership will provide a tax savings for you. You do get to do some write-offs. It allows you to lock in your monthly housing costs. So if you've ever lived in an apartment or you've had a rental, a lot of times they'll come back to you maybe after a year and say, hey, we're going to raise your rent. If you have a fixed rate mortgage, you will know what your monthly payment's going to be, and you don't have to worry about that going up. A lot of times what we're seeing, buying a home is more affordable than renting yearly. And what we look at is when you look at how much it's costing you for your mortgage and all of your payments, and then any of the tax savings that you get at the end and all those benefits, if you talk with your lender, the lender will be able to tell you, hey, this is really an ideal situation because you'll be able to do that. And honestly, rents are out of control right now. I know apartments are quite expensive. That's why 3 of my kids are still at home. And I don't know any other investments that allow you to live inside of it. You have Bitcoin, you have stocks, you have all kinds of fun stuff, but you cannot live inside of any of those. So investing in yourself and in your future is a huge thing. But again, it's really about what you're comfortable with and if you really are ready to buy a house. I love working with buyers, especially first-time home buyers. And these are 2 of my clients that I had the opportunity to work with last year. We have Don and Roseanne on the left. They actually bought a townhouse in Westlake. They hadn't bought a home in, gosh, I think it was like 20 years. So it was like being a first-time home buyer all over again. A lot of things had changed. And for Don, especially, the last house he bought was actually in Alaska. So it was a very different process. Brittany bought a home in Simi, and her buckets were she didn't care about the house. She wanted a location and she wanted a yard for her horses, and we were able to find her that pretty quickly. So that was exciting. But yeah, it's just fun giving keys to people. That day, I give keys, you cry, I cry, and we all get excited. Okay. So let's get started. Okay, number one mistake that I see is actually going out shopping for the home without a pre-approval. Now, again, you might have gone to an open house. There's no open house police. Nobody's going to stop you. But I do think um, can be, going and shopping without a pre-approval is like going on a road trip without a map or without Google Maps, and you're not sure what you're doing. A pre-approval is really going to give you a clearer idea of what you can afford and what those payments are going to look like for that price of a home. I can tell you, shopping without the pre-approval, you will fall in love with a house that is absolutely probably outside your budget, like I did, and lead to a lot of disappointment. Before my last house I bought, fell in love with the house. It had the pool, it had the beautiful kitchen, it had 3-car garage. And then I found out how much it was. I found out how much the payments were going to be. There was no way I could afford it. So that was pretty disheartening, especially since I had taken my kids with me. So it's better to understand what is within your what you're comfortable with. And then also, depending on the type of loan that you get, not all homes are equal, especially if we're looking at a budget where you're looking at condos and townhomes. There are like the three main types of mortgages are out there are conventional, FHA, and VA. And for FHA and VA type loans, if you're looking at condos, we need to make sure that the homeowners association that are associated with these condos and townhomes are FHA or VA approved. And a lot of them aren't. And so one of the things again is if you fall in love with something and it's not actually approved for the type of loan that you're going to get, that can lead to a lot of disappointment. So my job will be once I know what your pre-approval is and what type of loan you have, my job is to send you homes and make suggestions that qualify or would work for you guys because and that's some digging that I do on the back end and Alyssa helps me. We want to make sure that we're sending you homes that make sense and not something that doesn't. The other thing to keep in mind is when we write up that offer and we submit it to the sellers, sellers will most likely not consider an offer without a pre-approval. When they're considering an offer, they want to make sure that you are qualified and you're going to be able to buy the home because the last thing you want to do is accept an offer from a buyer. And when they take it off the market because they say that they've accepted an offer, they're locked in with you and they can't do anything else with any other buyers other than accept backup offers and then they find out that you can actually qualify and it's it takes away from everybody. So that is one thing to keep in mind. We will need the pre-approval when we are ready to submit an offer on a home. We talked a little bit about this, why you should get pre-approved, some of the benefits. It will definitely help you understand what your maximum buying power is, what your monthly payment is, how much cash or money you will need towards your down payment and closing costs. Um, this will help us allow us also to develop a timeline on when you're ready to buy. Maybe you got approved for a certain amount and the interest rate's a little bit higher than you'd like, and the lender gave you some ideas about improving a few things to get your credit a little bit higher to get a better rate. Maybe we want to hold off on it, but it gives us a good idea of when that buying timeline would be. Like I said, when the seller reviews offers, it shows them that you are pre-approved. You've already met with a lender and they have all your information and they've already looked at your financials. Just so you know, there are no upfront costs or obligation to get a pre-approval. A lot of times what I like to do is introduce my clients to a lender. I work with a lot of really good lenders and I try to pair you out with people that I think your personality and different styles are and different loan products. Not everybody carries the same ones. So it's a no obligation. Have a conversation with the lenders and chat with them. They don't necessarily have to run your credit immediately, but having a conversation will help you. They will be able to answer any questions you have on the financial side of it. I don't get involved in all the financial piece of it. And so I just know that nobody's going to obligate you to say, hey, we talked about getting a pre-approval and you have to buy a house. Any lender that I refer you to works very much like me, that we're in for the long haul. We want to help you have a game plan of how to move forward. Okay. Mistake number 2 is not making a strong offer from the beginning. And what do I mean by that? Not making a strong offer means like maybe you saw a house and it was listed for $1 million and you want to come in and what we call lowball them. You want to go in too high. So if we come in too low from an offer, especially if the house just went on the market, sellers may not take us seriously. What happens is we may not even get a response from a seller. When we submit an offer, the seller has a couple of choices. They can either accept our offer the way it is, they can reject it and not even give a response. They're not obligated to do that. Or what we could get a counter offer. And what a counter offer means is They like some parts of your offer. They like maybe the price, maybe not the terms, or they like all the terms, including like how long your contingency periods are, that kind of thing, but they don't like the price. So they may came back and say, hey, we want you to increase your price. That's what a counteroffer is. They like some parts of the offer, not all of it. But again, we may not even get a response from a seller if we don't go in strong from the beginning. In a really competitive market, like we saw a few years ago when houses were flying off the shelf and there were multiple offers, um, you know, a lot of people, let's kind of see how they're doing. We'll come in a little bit low. Well, we weren't getting responses, and then people were losing out on the home that they really liked. And so I want you to be sure if that's a house you really like, let's go in. And the ultimate goal is to get the house. And we don't want to play games because a lot of times sellers will think that. And a strong offer doesn't always mean its price. We talked a little bit about, I mentioned terms and clean terms. It means there are going to be few things we have to decide on. It's going to be the price. It's going to be how long the closing will be. If we can close in a shorter amount of time frame, that really depends on your lender. We'll talk about that. It depends on your timing if you're comfortable with that. Contingencies, when that means like how long you want to take for inspections. There are standard times within a contract. And sometimes, depending on the offer and depending on the home and how many people we're competing about, we may want to shorten some of those timelines on getting your final loan approval, doing all of your inspections, and being flexible with the closing if the seller needed more time or wanted to close a little bit faster if you could. Some of the things to consider, we touched on it a little bit with, contingencies, but this is something that I'll help you decide on. We'll go through everything together. We're going to talk about the list price. What is the list price? The condition of the home. What are the seller's motives or needs? What's happening currently in the market? How long the house has been on the market and how many offers. So what happens is we go see a house, we go show it. You tell me, hey, Dolores, I love this house. I'm ready to make an offer. My job is once we leave, I actually call the listing agent to gather as much information as possible. We'll know the list price. It's listed on the house. We'll see the condition, basically what's in front of us. But I call the seller or I call the listing agent and I ask, what does the seller need besides price? Because everybody's going to say they always want top price. But are there any needs that the seller has? Do they need a quick escrow? Do they need a longer escrow? Do they need a rent back? That means you would buy the house, we would close escrow, but the sellers need maybe a week or two to actually make their final move. How many offers there are, if there are any offers. Because I really want to get a better understanding. The more information I have, the better way I can guide you in making that strong offer. So, but I'll gather all that information. And then what happens is after I gather all that and I talk to the listing agent, I actually call you and we discuss what I think based on the area, the comparables, and again, days on market, if there's any other offers, that kind of thing. But that'll be on a individual basis depending on the house. Mistake number 3 really is not doing your due diligence. When we talked about getting into escrow, we're going to do inspections, your due diligence period. And typically we have, per the contract, is 17 days. Sometimes we will shorten that time frame depending if we have to write a strong offer. And what that means is that is your time, and your due diligence period is to do any inspections regarding the home. And this is the time not to be frugal. I had a client that I helped us several years ago. She was spending $800,000 on the house. It was the buyer. You will pay for any home inspections that you want to do. And we typically start with a general home inspection, a termite, like a sewer lateral inspection, certain inspections, but this will be money out of pocket and we will guide you on how much to kind of estimate for. The girl was buying an $800,000 house. That's a lot of money. And she did not want to pay the $75 for a termite inspection. And I told her, I said, this is totally up to you. This is, I gave her some recommendations. She found a company that was actually, they did free termite inspections. The problem is what I find a lot of times is nothing is free. So they did the free inspection, but then of course they came back with a laundry list of items that had to be addressed with the house because that's how the termite company is making money. My point is with that, just make sure that you're doing and you're paying for these inspections and you feel totally comfortable with the house, because that once we remove an inspection contingency, that'll be you know, up to you. And once we do that, we're moving forward with the house. Um, I don't ever advise skipping inspections to win the offer, get your offer accepted, because that can lead to a lot of regrets. Had a client when it was a hot market and we were competing at several offers. I had a lot of clients that were shortening, they were skipping out on doing certain inspections, and they bought a house. They did not do their general inspection. They got the house, they started remodeling, and once they started pulling up the floor, they found a laundry room full of mold. That was thousands of dollars that they could have saved if they had done their inspections. And there were already signs that they could have been found and it could have been addressed during the inspection period. Um, that inspection period, let's say we'll use them as an example. They could have used that as a negotiating power, because once you're in escrow, we wrote our offer based on everything that we could see. Those inspections, you're hiring a general inspector and any other inspector you want, but they're looking at everything. And, from the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, all that. And so what will happen is once we get all those inspection reports back, we have an opportunity to say, like, look, I was willing to buy the house based on what I saw. Now I know there's possible mold, or the AC is not working, and we had that inspected. We have the opportunity to go back to the seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, based on our inspections, this isn't working. I want to ask you to either repair it or give us a credit towards getting the repair fixed, because that way you have some negotiating and they can say yes, no, or negotiate with you on what that is. And then you have the opportunity to say yes, no, I don't want to move forward, or yes, I will, based on what their response is. But it could save you thousands of dollars, because we may not have known just by looking at the house that we had an issue with the AC unit. So again, it's going to save you thousands of dollars. Don't skip this step. The other thing to understand is due diligence it doesn't mean just inspections. It also means if you're buying a house and it has a homeowners association, review those rules and regulations. Look at the neighborhood conditions, maybe permits if you're concerned if there was any additions to the house. Um, I can give you another example of HOA rules. I had a client that was buying a condo. She never once told me that she was going to use it as a rental. And she told me she was buying it. She was excited. She was a first time home buyer. It is the you will get a whole set of HOA rules and regulations for you to review. I get them as well, but you as the buyer will review everything. And there was a rule in the HOA that you could not rent the house, the condo, um, for at least 1 year, or if there was a rental cap. So what it was only a certain percentage of the condos were allowed to be rented at a time. She never told me. We bought the house, we went through escrow, we closed, and then 2 weeks later she called me and she started freaking out and saying that she was getting in trouble because she called the HOA and told them she was going to rent out the unit and they told her she wasn't allowed. And so she was upset because she couldn't do that and she didn't really want to move into the house. If I had known that, I would have told her and reminded her, like, hey, I need you to make sure there's no rules, or I would have looked into it for her and helped guide her on that. But because I had no idea and I was under the impression that she was going to live in it, I never thought to look for a rule about rental, and you can't do that. So just as you're looking at homes, make sure you're keeping me or your agent involved and aware of anything, something like that, where it might, come back and bite you in the butt later because we didn't know. So we want to help guide you and help you as much as possible. A list of inspections that we typically recommend. I mentioned a few of them. We typically start with a general home inspection because they will look at everything at the house. Termite California, we either have termites or we're getting them. It's very common to have termites in California. Roof, if the roof is old and we know that the roof hasn't been um, it hasn't been replaced in several years, and or especially if we see any signs of staining or that kind of thing. If there's a pool, definitely I would say a pool inspection. The general home inspector will look at pool equipment, but they won't check for anything else other than that. So any concerns, any leaks, you can do leak detection, but having somebody actually do a pool inspection will really go in more detail about the pool. And then sewer lateral inspection. We have a lot of older homes in our area. So sewer lateral is the sewer line from the front of the house or from the house out to the street where it connects to the city sewer. A lot of times, if there's trees and plants and that kind of thing, roots can grow into the system. And so if it's an older sewer lateral, that can get backed up or cracked. And so you want to have that checked just because the last thing you want is to have a backup, which can happen at any time. There's no guarantees, but having that checked, and again, if we saw that there was a cracked pipe, we could go back to the seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, the sewer line's cracked. Can we get a credit? Will you replace it? That kind of thing. So again, but there's a whole laundry list of inspections that you can do. That's just the common ones that we typically recommend from the beginning. Okay. Number 4 is a big one. It's breaking one of the 10 commandments of buying. Oh, sorry. My cat just came in. Lily wants to join us this evening. You might have seen her in one of the pictures from the beginning. Okay. 10 commandments when buying a home. Let's not change jobs, become self-employed, or quit a job without letting anybody know. We've already gotten your pre-approval. We've already gotten an offer accepted. Please don't make any major changes with the job without letting me and the lender know. We can navigate. I think I've had every example on this list happen. And so, yeah, we want to make sure that we know exactly what's going on. Again, it's all about communication. Please don't go buy any new cars, vans, or trucks because you may end up living in it. Buying a car, running your credit, that will affect you getting your pre-approval, and you end up losing out on the house and you have nowhere else to go. I don't want you living in the car. Don't go using your credit cards excessively. I know you're going to get excited. You want the new appliances, oh, the new furniture, and there's a sale. It's Labor Day weekend, and they're doing special financing. That's okay. There's going to be another sale. Just wait. Don't run them because they will check your credit a couple of times while you're buying a house. So we want to make sure that your accounts don't get run up excessively or let any of your accounts fall behind. I actually was at a home buyer class several years ago, and I thought it was funny. The lender that was there talking, she said, I don't care if you live in the dark, you have no gas or anything like that. Your utilities are not reported in your credit report. I don't care if you don't pay those. Make sure all of your credit cards, card payments, everything is getting paid on time. Don't spend all of your money because I told you not to use your credit card. So you're going to use all of your cash to go buy all that furniture and appliances. That was the money set aside for your closing. Don't use it. We need it. You know, applying for any credit, any other type of liability, just don't. We talked about the furniture. No any additional inquiries, even if you think it might be just a minor thing. If you're wondering about doing something, at least ask the lender because they're on the finance side. Just let them know. Even making large deposits, I think and Alyssa might have had this when she bought her house, where some large deposits are made into your bank account. The lender will ask for copies of bank statements, your tax returns, that kind of thing. And so if you start making large deposits into your bank, they will question it because they need money that is seasoned and needs to be in the account for a little bit, or you have to address where it came from. Don't change bank accounts. Again, they're going to ask for all those bank statements. They're going to kind of look to see, they want to track all the money where it's going. And definitely don't co-sign for anybody while you're going through your pre-approval. If you really want a house, worry about you first. You can help family members later. I actually even had a client I was helping. The husband was actually in a car accident while we were starting to shop for homes. It took us a little bit longer to get a house. We were looking in 2021. So I think we wrote about 20 offers for them before we actually found a house and we got an offer accepted. And so for quite a few months, they shared one car because we could not have them buy a car and run their credit until we actually closed escrow. So the day we closed escrow, they got keys. They went out that night and bought the new car. So again, I've seen almost every one of these examples, and all this is about communication, letting us know what's going on. We can maneuver around it. It's just, but if we don't know, we can't help you until if it's too late. We may not be able to go back. Okay. Number 5, and this is one of the main ones, is really choosing an experienced realtor. I think it's really important who you work with. Um, the experience matters, especially when you're going into um, finding the right price to offer, negotiating, spotting red flags. I've been doing this full time. I've helped hundreds of clients. And I tell you that because I've seen a lot. I haven't seen everything, but I've seen my fair share. And I do network and talk to a lot of different agents. And so we share a lot of our experiences. So we know how to help our clients best. So that experience really matters. Um, I'm in tune because I am doing this full time and I've been doing it for several years. I've seen quite a few shifts in the market. I'm in tune with what really goes on. I'm watching what's coming on the market. I'm watching how many price drops are happening. I'm watching everything that's happening and what I think could happen. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm in tune with what's going on. And because I'm out looking at houses every week with clients and for clients, I know kind of how to guide you and how to manage some of those shifts. Um, my team is trusted and well known. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. Experience matters. Um, if you have an agent, like I have a great team, so I've been able to get offers accepted based on my clients writing a strong offer and my reputation. Because if an agent knows me, the seller ultimately makes the decision on what offer to accept. But us as agents, like when I'm on the listing side, I definitely give guidance to my clients about, I give them some insight on who the agent is, their experience, because we're in this relationship together. We have to get this done. And so I've run across some agents that I know play games, they don't communicate, and it could be a really bad experience. And so for me, I have a really good reputation. And because I have been in the local community and I talk to a lot of agents, they know who I am and they know how I work. And so that makes a big difference where I've been able to get those offers accepted for my clients because of that. Um, and I have a strong track record. I've been through a lot of markets. I've been when it's slower in 2021, 2020, when the market was crazy. I was able to help buyers win in really competitive markets, multiple offer situations. I've been able to really navigate and help guide you. And that goes back to me really being in tune with what's going on and working with the other agents, the agents on the other side, on the listing side, to really help guide you and get you that offer accepted. So it's been exciting that I've been able to do that and help as many buyers as I have. Okay. Um, our role as the agents, I want to share is, you know, the experience matters. We're acting as your advocate. We're going to be the one to share insights with you, guide you through the buying process. We're never here to dictate what you have to do. Um, it's all about you. You are hiring us to be your advocate and to be your fiduciary. We're going to help guide you. We're going to analyze the market trends and share that information. And I'm going to strive to align all of your buckets as closely as possible based on what your budget is, your location, everything. But ultimately, you will make the decision. And my job is, when you hire me, to assist you in reaching your real estate goals, whether it's today, next week, or in 2 years. I'm in for the long haul and I really want to help reach those goals because I do truly believe everybody can own a home if they want it. And it may take some time. And that's okay. It's all about you and what you want and how I can help you best. So I know we covered a lot of information. It's been a lot to take in, I'm sure, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. So I want to recap. The big takeaways were: don't shop without a pre-approval. If you want to go look at a couple of open houses because you're excited and you just want to check out, see what's happening, of course, nobody's going to say not to, but don't shop too much without it because I don't want you to be disappointed. If you find a home you love, let's not mess around. Let's go in it. I'm not saying offer way too much, but write a strong offer from the beginning. Show the sellers you're serious. So let's do that together and I'll help guide you with that. Always do your due diligence, get to know that house. That is your time to really get to know the house. You're buying a house in a neighborhood you may not as be familiar with. Drive by. We saw it during the day, drive by in the afternoon, drive by on the weekends, drive by at night, see what it looks like because you are the one who's going to be living there. So, but always do your due diligence. Don't break one of the 10 commandments. Don't go buy the furniture. Don't go get a new car. Definitely don't change jobs while we're in the purchase when we're purchasing a home. And then always work with an experienced team, whether it's me or anybody else. There's a lot of great agents out there, but I would love to help guide you to buy a home. And I think it's the most important thing is really work with an experienced team and somebody that you can have these candid conversations with because it's going to be a roller coaster. There's going to be a lot of emotions. It's up and down, but really find somebody that you can connect with and feel like you have a good relationship with because maybe we're in this relationship for 3 months, maybe it's going to be a year, but we're going to be working together and I want you to feel comfortable with whoever you're working with. All right. Again, we covered a lot of information. I know, but are you feeling a little less stressed out, a little less intimidated? Okay. All right. I'm glad you feel better, more confident, excited. I'm really glad because this was about just giving you some information to help get you started. There's a lot more to cover, but I want to make sure that you don't feel as overwhelmed. And I hope that was the goal of the evening to just really give you some information. Um, this was a lot of general overview. Obviously, everybody's going to have a different story, timing, budget, everything like that. So you can book a free no obligation consult with me in my calendar. You can see on the screen, it's pretty easy. I use Calendly if you're familiar with it. And Alyssa just dropped the link in the chat box for you. So you can click on that and you can book some time with us. It's a 30-minute call. Again, this is more about getting to know each other, how I can help you best, give you some recommendations. Really, this is, more about getting to know your unique situation and how to help you best. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know, like I said, I'm excited to help you get started. I love working with buyers. It was a lot of information, and we will have a replay of it. We did record the call tonight, and so we can share it with you if you like. But I would like to say thank you again. I know your time is precious. It's probably been a long day for you. And yeah, I'd like to help as any way I can. Did we have any questions in the chat box? Oh, you're welcome. Did we have any questions in the chat box that I did not address? We're going to open it up for Q&A. What happens after I call you? Well, it depends on what the situation is. So we can have a call, use the link, schedule that call, and we'll talk about what your wants are, your needs are, where you are, kind of your situation, if you're renting, if you're not renting, that kind of thing. And we'll get a little more detailed information about your specific thing, and then we'll come up with a specific strategy for you. Maybe starting with the pre-approval if you already have one. So it'll depend. But again, it'll be more like I'll give you some homework to do. I'll probably have some homework. We'll both get started on what we need to do to help each other, and then we'll go from there. Okay, great question. How much down payment do I need? Well, it really depends. The lowest down payment that I know of right now is 0%. and that if you have a VA loan, the VA loan is specifically um, for veterans. So typically you will need some money, but there are loans as low as there's some conventional products out there for 3%. There's the FHA loans for as little as 3.5%. It really depends on what you qualify for based on your credit and your financials. And that's why I point you in the direction of a lender. Are there any buyer programs or grants? There are some different programs and grants out there. Again, it will be specific. I know there are some different loan products out there for doctors and nurses, that kind of thing. There are some first-time home buyer programs out there. There's a couple loans called Cal FHA, or I believe last year they were calling it California Dream. So again, we'll point you in the direction of a lender. To help get you situated and to see what you can qualify for and what else is available, because a lot of things change um, over time. I want you to talk to a lender who has all that great information, and they can point you into the newest products out there or newest grants that they know about. Okay. Great. Do I have to pay you? Yes and no. I do charge for my services. And what that does is when we agree to work together, we have a consultation, we talk, and you decide, hey, yes, I really want to work with you. Excited. We're going to sign what we call buyer representation agreement. That's a contract that says I'm going to be your agent, and it's going to list out all my duties and responsibilities for you. You're going to commit to me. And what in that document, it'll tell you how much I charge for my services. What happens typically though is the seller, it has um, what happens is in the past, the seller automatically paid for my commission, the buyer's agent commission. Now that's changed a little bit where the contract says you will pay. We are still asking the sellers to pay for that. And that is one of the negotiation factors in the actual offer. We're asking the seller. I have not run across any offers or any transactions in the last year when the change was made on how we ask for that commission. Nothing has changed. The seller has still paid that. And what happens is the seller will agree to what they're willing to pay. And then you and I will discuss if there's any discrepancies on what my charge is and what the seller's willing to pay. But we can negotiate that. That's all negotiable. Okay. How long is the agreement for? Well, it's really up to you. The longest that we can put on that buyer representation agreement is 3 months. And that is 3 months that you're committed to me. I'm committed to you. I don't hold you to it. I'm going to be honest. I expect a commitment. If I'm going to commit my time to you and really help you, I would expect you to return that to me as well. And if you're not happy with my services or at any point, or you've decided that you just don't want to buy a house right now, we can cancel that agreement. But I want to have that conversation with you if and when the time comes. But typically it's a 3-month commitment. Is it easy to buy and sell at the same time? Yes, it can be done. We'll use easy relative. It can be done. You have quite a few options if you're going to buy and sell at the same time. There's a few options for you for buying and selling. Do you have to sell the house in order to have all the cash to buy your next house? Do we really want to sell the house, or can you use it as a rental and use that as a negotiating factor to get pre-approved, like that loan or that house would be rented. There's a couple of different loan products, bridge loans, that kind of thing. So it really depends. The biggest thing is one will come before the other. Do you have to sell first, or can you buy first? And that'll be on a case by case basis. So book some time with me on my calendar, and we will go ahead and talk about your unique situation, because we can talk about the house and that kind of thing. And Alyssa will drop the link for my calendar in there again in the chat box. Okay. While she's grabbing that link for the calendar, there's a question about what are the rates today? Do you expect them to go lower? Well, I wish I had a crystal ball, and I would say I knew exactly I would be a millionaire. Okay, she just put the link in the calendar link in the chat box. Okay, rates are in, I would say, the high 6s right now, really depending on your credit score and all your financials, debt to income ratio, all that fun stuff. We are seeing rates in the high 6s. Do we expect them to go lower? Yes, that is the projection, but I don't know. One of the things I will tell you is you cannot time the market on when the perfect time is. Interest rates fluctuate. I would say the best time to buy a house would be when you qualify for a house, you got your pre-approval, you find a house you love, and you get your offer accepted, and you are comfortable with those house payments. A lot of things you might hear is marry the house, date the rate, all those fun things. I'm sure you saw it all over social media last year. If there's concerns about qualifying and what the interest rates are, we have a couple of different strategies we can use. There's a couple of things we can do to kind of buy down your rate temporarily. We can do a permanent buy down on that rate. And ask for credits towards closing costs to buy down your rate. So really depending on what it is. But like I said, rates are around high sixes. Um, Comes down to, can you afford the house and are you comfortable with those monthly payments? One of the biggest things I want people to know is just because you're approved for $1 million, you don't have to use it. Find out what your monthly payment's going to be. That's how you live. The last thing I want is for you to buy a house and then call me 2 weeks later and say you hate the house and now you realize what your mortgage payment's going to be and you don't think you can do it. It's happened. And I told them, I need you to give me at least a month in that house. Don't sweat it. And if you still hate the house and you can't afford it, let's look into renting it because you're going to lose a lot of money if you sell right away. Again, this is about finding the right house, making sure you're comfortable with all the payments. And while we're going through the process, you'll have a better understanding of what that looks like. Okay. I don't see any other questions. It looks like that was it. Again, thank you for your time. I tried to keep it short. I know it's been a long day for you guys. So we'll drop that link in the chat one more time. Book some time on my calendar, even if you just want to say hi, talk about anything. Even if you're thinking about buying in a year or two, let's get a game plan together. I mean, I'll share some personal information. I went through a divorce. I had some financial stuff that I had to work through. And the best thing I ever did was I met with a lender about 9 months before I was ready to buy. Well, I wanted to buy right away, but I met with the lender. We came up with a game plan and it was like, okay, in 9 months or at least 6 months, I want you to work on your credit score. I want to get some of the credit cards paid off. And so the lender gave me a laundry list of things to do to get the best rate that I could, get my credit score up. And so it was the best thing that I did is talking to somebody early. She didn't charge me anything. She didn't do anything other than she gave me a game plan and I did exactly what she told me to do to be prepared. So when the time was ready, I started looking. And as soon as I found the house, I was prepared and I knew exactly what was going to happen. So. Okay. Again, I hope this evening was informational for you. You got something out of it. Book some time with me. Let me know if you have any questions. And I thank you all for joining us tonight.